Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we're going to be looking at the concept of hooks in Sveltekit and why hooks are important in Sveltekit. And we're going to do that by example. So, what exactly are hooks in Sveltekit? As we can see from the documentation, hooks are app-wide functions you declare that Sveltekit will call in response to specific events. So when we create hooks in Sveltekit, what it means is Sveltekit will check the hooks file, and from the function that we've created, it will look at it, then execute whatever thing that we've written inside it. And to start with, there are three types of hooks that you can create. As seen in the documentation, you can create hooks.server.js or .ts, and remember, these have to reside in your SRC folder as seen in the documentation here. So for the server, hooks.server, it runs on the server side, and for hooks.client, it runs on your client side, and hooks.js will run both on the server and on your local on your client side. Okay, so in this tutorial, actually what we're going to be doing is we'll look at the undo function, which actually receives requests when it happens on the server or on the client side. Then it processes it, then return a response. Okay, and in the undo function, so the undo function takes input as its parameter, right? And when we destructure the input, we have access to resolve and event. Okay, so let's look at it together. So in my SRC folder, I'll create a new file called hooks.server.ts. I'll leave the link to the documentation in the description. Okay, so now that we've created hooks.server.ts, remember the hooks.server.ts will run on the server side. And before we continue, if you're yet to subscribe to my page, kindly subscribe to my page to get the latest update about Sveltekit and to be the first to be notified of new videos when I release them. Okay, so back to hooks.server.ts now. So in our hooks.server.ts, we can create an undo function, which Sveltekit will call to make some changes to the request or even the kind of response that I want to return. So we can create undo, we can create undo fetch, which makes modification to our fetch request. We can set new headers and all those things. And we can as well do undo errors. Okay, so but in this video, what we're going to focus on is the handle function. So let's create the handle function. Let's export a constant, and the type is going to be handle. Okay, which is going to be an asynchronous function. Okay, so in this function that we have here, what this basically does is when an event is triggered in our application, this function will be called, and whatever we specify in this function will be what will be returned as response to our application. Okay, so initially I said this function takes input, and if you look at input, if we check the property of input, we have access to event and resolve. Okay, so the event, when this event comes in, that's the request itself. When it comes in, we can process it. Then when we resolve it, then the resolve part of it will return to the view what we want the users to see or the type of response we want to return. So let us destructure this input, then have access to our event and result. So, and we destructure this, sorry, with the structure input, we will have access to event and we have access to resolve. Okay, so initially, if you do not make any change to, you do not do anything within this undo function, your application will still continue to run. It will continue to do what it's supposed to do, because this is what Sveltekit is actually doing. So it's resolving the event, and that's all. It's just doing return, resolve, event, and that's all. So whatever event that happens now is just going to resolve it, then return whatever you want to your user. So, but the good part of the hook is that we can modify this event. And remember, if you look at the properties that we have in events, we've seen this before. You have access to cookies, fetch, client address, and all other information that you need here. So we can access every of these things, make changes to them before the final response is being generated. Okay, so a good example of what we're talking about is, let's say that I want to take over, or I want to modify the response that goes back to any of my URL. If we have this landing page and we have the profile page. So take, for example, I want to return a new response when user visits the profile page. Okay, so let's destructure event. So we get URL from event. Okay, so now that we have access, we can then listen to when users click or navigate to the profile page. And when they navigate to the page, then we display the response that we want them to see. So in my case now, what I want to do is I just want to return a message when user goes to the profile page. So let's say if URL dot path name starts with profile. So I want to return a response. So remember, what this means is, if this criteria is met, then whatever we have in here is what will be returned on our page. Okay, so let's go back to the home page. Then return a new response from here by saying return a new response, right? And the new response is welcome to profile page via hooks. Okay, now, so if I save this now, because the page we are targeting is not the landing page, we are still getting our form and every other text that we have on it. So which means for the landing page, the hook we ignore, it will ignore this side of our code, then it will just resolve the event as it is, because we did not do any modification to it. But when user goes to the profile page, now we are already targeting that in our hooks and we want a new response to be returned. So what this means is, when a user goes to profile page, then this response will be sent from the server. Okay, remember, this will not happen if this response will not be triggered if this happens on the client side. But if it's from the server side, it's actually going to affect. So let's just look at what I'm saying by example. If I fill out this, you see, everything works fine because it is from the client side. Okay. But if it's from the server side, which means when the page loads, right? So that's from the server, then this page is going to return welcome to profile page via hooks. So let's give it a try. So in my browser, in the URL, I will just go to profile, and you see now. So we've taken over what we were supposed to see, right? So we are returning a new response to the page because it's coming from the server, and from that we are able to manage whatever response we want the user to see. So guys, in this video, we've been able to see how we can implement the undo function in our hooks.server.ts and how to return response from it. So we'll look at how to handle errors in hooks.server.ts. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification so you'll be the first to know when I release another video. Thank you. See you next time.